The Chicago Bears secondary is on fire, and what is about to go down could change the course of this organization for good. A homegrown safety developed in this city, the kind of player Chicago wraps its arms around and calls its own, might be packing bags and heading to a rival town. And once you hear where that destination is, Bears Nation, you are going to feel a chill that has nothing to do with the wind coming off Lake Michigan. But that is not all. While the potential exit of that defensive piece leaves a massive hole in the roster, there is one name the analytics world is already yelling as the perfect answer for the Bears in free agency. A 26-year-old safety hardened in the most successful system of the last decade who fits Dennis Allen's scheme like a puzzle piece. And this move, in my opinion, might be the smartest thing Ryan Poles does this offseason. And if that is still not enough to keep glued to the screen, let me tell you the 2026 Combine is already rolling in Indianapolis, and the folks at Pro Football Focus just dropped what they see as the ideal haul for Chicago to build something historic in the first 3 rounds of the April draft. There are names there that are going to catch you off guard, and there are takes I'm going to challenge head on because that is what we do here, Bears Nation. Unfiltered, fearless breakdowns. Stick around until the end because every second of this video is pure gold for any fan of the Navy and Orange. If you are not part of this family yet, hit subscribe right now and turn on that bell. Smash that like button if you love the Bears. This is just getting started. News 1. I cannot wrap my head around what is happening with the Chicago Bears secondary, and if you still do not know what I am talking about, get ready, because this one stings. Jaquan Brisker, the safety, a lot of us have watched grow inside this organization ever since Ryan Poles took that shot and grabbed in with pick number 48 in the 2022 draft, is standing right on the edge of the exit door. And it is not just any place. The Pittsburgh Steelers are coming for. The Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the most tradition-rich defensive franchises in the entire history of the NFL, have been publicly identified as the perfect landing spot for Brisker once free agency opens up next month. Let that sink in for a second. This is not some hallway rumor or a hot take from somebody with a mic and no info. Aaron Schatz, a respected analyst over at ESPN, laid out what would be the perfect free agency moves for every NFL team. And for the Steelers, the one name put down was Jaquan Brisker. That is not random. That is a serious analyst telling the world this player fits exactly what Pittsburgh wants in the back end. And I have to ask, Bears Nation, what are we doing when the rest of the league starts talking about our players like they are already gone? That is the question Ryan Poles has to answer with actions, not press conferences. And here comes the part that hurts even more. How many times in recent years have we watched this organization let a high-value player walk because the cap numbers just did not work to keep? I remember Roquan Smith, one of the best linebackers this franchise has seen since the great Brian Urlacher, the heartbeat of the monsters of the Midway in era, heading to the Baltimore Ravens because there was no deal. I remember the frustration across the whole city, from the south side to the north side, from Wrigleyville to Pilsen, and with Brisker, it feels like that same pattern is playing out right in front of us, and that Bears Nation cannot be treated like it is normal. The root problem is the salary cap. Ryan Poles and the Bears front office are currently about $5.3 million over the cap. And when that is the spot you are in, you do not get the luxury of keeping everyone want. Painful decisions are not a maybe. They are a guarantee. Somebody has to go to make the math work, and the safety room is the spot sitting most exposed because not 1, not 2, but 3 starting safeties are set to hit unrestricted free agency next month. Think about that. Jaquan Brisker, Kevin Byard, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, all 3, all free at the same time. That means if the Bears do not move with surgeon-level precision in free agency and the draft, they could roll into the 2026 season with that entire position rebuilt from scratch. And I am telling you with full conviction, that is a recipe for disaster if it is not handled right. Now, let us talk about who Jaquan Brisker really is and why the idea of losing hurts this fan base that has already taken too many punches. This is someone who came to Chicago out of Penn State with the reputation of being a complete safety, the kind of player who could do everything on the back end, could play deep, covering the field with range and feel for the game, can drop down into the box and be a rock-solid tackler against the run. Exactly the type of profile modern defensive coordinators need to disguise coverages and mess with opposing quarterbacks. In healthy seasons, Brisker logged at least 90 combined tackles every time. 7 career sacks, 4 interceptions, 4 forced fumbles. For a safety, those numbers scream real impact, a player who is not just out there eating snaps, but actively changing the game in every phase of the defense. Not just a name in the tackle column, someone who can flip a game with a single play. The problem, and I am not going to pretend it is not there because that would be dishonest with you, is that Brisker has struggled to stay on the field. In the 2024 season, missed 12 games because of a concussion, and that opened up a lot of questions about durability. A concussion in football is not just any injury. It is something teams treat with extreme seriousness, and they are right to do so. But that medical history is exactly what could make contract talks tricky, both for the Bears, who are debating how hard to commit financially to a player they know might miss time, and for Brisker, who is trying to get full market value for the talent brings when out there. That contract tension is real, it is legit, and it is exactly the kind of situation that can end in a breakup neither side truly wanted, but circumstances made unavoidable. The 2025 season told a different story. Brisker stayed available, put up 52 total tackles with 1 sack and 1 interception, and showed again that when healthy is a real difference maker in this defense. I think that year was strong enough to make the Steelers want and be willing to put serious money on the table, but maybe it was not dominant enough for the Bears to feel like they have to flip their whole cap plan upside down to keep at any price. That is the tension right now, and it is going to get settled in the next few weeks when the hard numbers hit the table. Here's the piece I really need you to think about. Dennis Allen's defensive scheme, the one the new Chicago Bears defensive coordinator is bringing in, absolutely demands premium versatility and athleticism at the safety spot. Allen just came off building defenses in New Orleans that leaned heavily on safeties who could basically do everything inside that structure. The vision for Chicago is the same, and Brisker is exactly the kind of player who fits that vision naturally. Losing does not just mean putting a different name on the depth chart. It means having to go find somebody in the market with that same versatility, that specific mix of athletic traits and defensive IQ, and that is not easy, not cheap, and not quick. The Pittsburgh Steelers, on the other hand, are staring at almost the exact same emergency at safety. Almost all their safeties are free agents. Outside of Deshaun Elliott and maybe Jalen Ramsey if is treated as a safety, Pittsburgh has the perfect defensive culture for Brisker. They have the money to throw a strong deal together. They have the history and winning reputation that pulls free agents in. That whole mix makes this scenario not just possible, but very likely. And that Bears Nation is the kind of thing that should keep more than a few people in Chicago up tonight. So I am asking straight up with the honesty this channel always promised. If the Bears lose Brisker without already having a clear, realistic plan to replace, is that a front office failure or just the brutal, unavoidable reality of the modern NFL cap world where teams are forced to choose between players who all deserve to stay? I think it is both. I think Poles knows exactly what is on the line with Brisker. But I also think the financial hand this organization is playing right now does not give a lot of room to operate. And when there are no real options, sometimes those painful calls everybody hates are the only ones left inside the team's financial box. What I am 100% sure about is this. Bears Nation deserves full transparency about what is going down inside Halas Hall, because if Brisker walks to Pittsburgh and the Chicago secondary is left soft and leaderless, that is going to show up on the field from the very first snap of the 2026 season, and nobody here wants to watch Caleb Williams string together perfect drives, running that offense with all the juice and talent has, only to see the defense hand touchdowns right back on the other end week after week. This city does not deserve that. Da Bears do not deserve that. But before we let the doom and gloom completely take over, I want you to really listen to what is next, because there is a very specific name in free agency that might be exactly the answer the Bears need to keep the secondary from turning into this team's Achilles heel in 2026. And once you hear the name and the team this player is coming from, you are going to understand exactly why I am fired up about the idea. News 2, Brian Cook. Let me say this, Bears Nation, and I want full attention on this part. While the possible exit of Jaquan Brisker has the entire fan base on edge with a knot in the chest, the sports analytics world already has a very specific name circled as the ideal solution for that hole in the Chicago secondary. And that name is Brian Cook, safety for the Kansas City Chiefs. Bleacher Report publicly called Cook the perfect free agency signing for the Chicago Bears in 2026. And when you sit down and really go through the logic calmly, deeply honestly, it is genuinely hard to push back against that take. Let us start with the simplest but most critical detail. Brian Cook is 26 years old, 26. That is not some throwaway line in the scouting report. That is the absolute core of the entire case for, in today's NFL, a 26-year-old safety who already has real, proven experience in a truly elite winning system is gold. You are not paying for what was. You are investing in what is still coming. You are betting on the prime years, those 3 or 4 seasons where a safety blends enough experience to read pro offenses with the speed and explosion that only comes with youth. That combo, Bears Nation, does not show up in free agency every day. Now stack that up against the alternate timeline. If the Bears just sit on their hands at safety, Kevin Byard has the experience. Sure, has put real stuff on tape, but there are a lot of miles on that body and a full decade's worth of hits in this league. C.J. Gardner-Johnson plays with serious juice, and nobody questions the talent. But there is a behavior and consistency track record that raises valid questions for an organization trying to build a very specific culture under Ryan Poles. And Brisker, as we already broke down, is very likely walking right out the door toward Pittsburgh. In that exact context, bringing Brian Cook to Chicago at 26 with a complete, proven athletic profile is not just a good idea on paper, it is the right move for where this build is at right now. There is something else I need everybody to get about why Cook fits Chicago so well. Signing any random safety off the street does not do a thing if that safety cannot actually execute what the defensive coordinator needs inside the scheme. Dennis Allen needs players who can line up in multiple spots, who can play deep when the call demands, who can drop into the box and hammer the run when the situation calls for it, and who have enough defensive IQ to read plays in real time and adjust on the fly without losing confidence or clarity. Cook can do all of that and has already shown it on the biggest stage this league can offer. In Kansas City, the Chiefs staff has moved Cook all over the place and only did that because the versatility and football intelligence are there naturally. Has played deep safety when that was the call, patrolling the back end and helping over the top. Has dropped into the box to crash the run game with a level of physicality you simply cannot coach into someone. Either have that in or do not. Has matched up on receivers in short and intermediate zones with enough confidence to not get picked on. That kind of multidimensional flexibility is exactly what Dennis Allen needs to disguise coverages and make opposing quarterbacks walk up to the line, never fully sure what they are looking at. In the modern NFL, that is a massive tactical edge. Now, let me throw a real question out there, and I want you to actually think it through. Is Brian Cook just another shiny, expensive name who looks good in March, but does not really fix anything if the Bears lose Brisker? Byard and Gardner-Johnson all at once turning one hole into 3. That is a fair concern, and I am not brushing it off. I think signing Cook solves a crucial chunk of the problem, but not the entire thing if the team does not have a clear, complementary plan. Whether that is another move in free agency or smart draft capital to round out the safety tandem Allen needs to make this scheme hum at the level this city expects. There is also a deeper strategic point I want to hit. The Bears have been publicly banging the drum that pass rush is priority number 1 for this upcoming free agency window, and I get it. That argument plays in the headlines. Pass rush sells, but Montez Sweat is already locked in as a legit anchor on the edge. Austin Booker is developing into a very real and exciting young presence off the corner who could see a much bigger role in 2026. What I am arguing today, backed up by what Bleacher Report already put out there, is that the Bears already have that foundational edge piece. What they flat out do not have right now is safety, and that hole is a lot deeper and more dangerous to this team's defensive identity than the need for another edge rusher. And I want to connect this to something beyond stats and charts, because the Bears are not just a football team to this city. They are the identity, the monsters of the Midway, the legacy of Urlacher, Peppers, Mike Singletary, and that 1985 group that showed the world what it looks like when you play this game with soul and steel. Chicago has always been a defense city, a place that takes pride in how hard and how physical its teams hit. When the secondary is soft, when safety is unresolved, it is not just an X's and O's problem. It is an identity problem that cuts right into a fan base that built its love for this team on that defensive tradition. The top teams in this league, the ones still standing in January when the cold bites and the stakes are sky high, are not the teams chasing the same need in every single free agency cycle. They are the teams that pinpoint exactly where their real roster holes are and patch them smart, efficiently, and strategically. The Chiefs do it every year, and that is why they keep winning. The Eagles do it, and that is why they hang around at the top of the NFC. The Ravens do it with financial discipline that pretty much sets the bar. If the Bears want to trade punches with those types of franchises in the playoffs, with Caleb Williams at the controls, they have to start thinking the same way. So I am saying this as clearly and firmly as I can. If Ryan Poles walks out of this free agency window without having locked down the safety position in a decisive way, whether that is Cook or someone with a similar profile who checks Allen's boxes, and just crosses fingers that the draft will fix it all, that is a massive gamble with this team's present. Drafts are inherently unpredictable. College players take time to grow and find their footing in this league. Safety is not the spot where you just drop in a round one rookie and expect consistent day one, no mistake football. The risk in that approach is way too high for an organization trying to win right now, while Caleb Williams is on that upward curve. Cook is the right answer for this moment. A proven player, battle-tested under the brightest lights, with the correct athletic traits for Allen's scheme and the kind of winning mindset this locker room needs, standing next to the leaders already in the building. The final question for Ryan Poles is whether there is a way to structure a deal that actually makes sense with the current cap strain. I think there is, with some contract creativity, smart incentive structures, and guarantees handled the right way. There is a path to bring Brian Cook to Chicago without blowing up the financial future of this roster down the road. Poles has pulled that off before, and I think can do it again. And speaking of the immediate future of this organization, Bears Nation, that takes us straight into the 2026 draft, because the Combine is in full swing in Indianapolis, and it is already kicking out fresh info every Navy and Orange fan needs to digest before April hits. Pro Football Focus already laid out what they think is the ideal haul for the Bears, and there are picks in there I am going to break down without mercy, backing what makes sense and calling out what does not. News 3 Draft 2026, PFF, Peter Woods, AJ Halsey, Skyler Bell. The 2026 Combine is in full swing in Indianapolis, Bears Nation, and while hundreds of prospects are ripping through 40-yard dashes, throwing weight around and showing off agility and explosion in front of every front office in the NFL, the question for the Chicago Bears is as sharp and urgent as that February wind whipping through the loop in Chi-Town. With pick number 25 in the first round, what is truly the best thing that can happen to this organization in April's draft? Bradley Locker, a Pro Football Focus contributor, already laid down a very specific answer, and I am going to break it down with no filters, no sugarcoating, backing with conviction what I like, and pushing back hard on what I do not think fits this team's reality. The first name PFF tags as the ideal first-round prize for the Bears is Peter Woods, defensive tackle out of Clemson. And before anybody rushes to throw shade based on the Combine measurables where the arm length came in under 32 inches, a number scouts are always circling as a red flag, I think we need a deeper, more honest conversation than what usually gets aired on the national shows. Short arms in a defensive tackle are definitely a concern in scouting reports. No question, I am not denying that or hand-waving it away. But here's what I want to ask. How many defensive tackles in recent NFL history got knocked down draft boards for that exact reason and still turned into solid or even high-end players once they hit the league? The truth is the tape, the real consistent performance on the field against high-level competition, is a way better and more reliable indicator of a prospect's potential than any measurement taken in a convention hall in Indianapolis. And Peter Woods' tape is loud. This is a player with real burst off the line. That first step you simply cannot fake at the combine. The way naturally fires out of blocks. The raw power at the point of attack when the scheme lines up that way. And the relentless way chases the ball beyond the line of scrimmage, all scream defensive instincts that translate to Sunday football. In the 2024 season, Woods posted a 74.0 pass rush grade and a 74.2 run defense grade, according to Pro Football Focus. For a college prospect graded in that system, those numbers point to somebody who already has the basic tools and profile of a real impact player at the next level. Now, critics have called out a noticeable dip in the 2025 numbers. And I am not going to pretend that did not happen, but context matters before you stamp that as a hard negative and bury a player who still has legit upside. Clemson as a whole did not have a good 2025. The overall system around that defensive front was not clicking. Opposing coordinators were able to shift protection and scheme help in ways they normally could not if the full defense was firing. The end result is the top individual players on that unit took a hit on the stat sheet, even if their one-on-one quality did not actually fall off. T.J. Parker, the other Clemson defensive lineman in this draft class, lived through the exact same thing. Team context matters a ton when you're grading prospects, and writing Woods off for one down season in a broken team setup would be an analytic mistake the Bears cannot afford. For the Chicago Bears and Dennis Allen's defensive vision, bringing in Peter Woods at pick 25 makes sense from more than one angle. The interior defensive line in Chicago needs an injection of young, fresh talent that can contribute right away while still having room to grow over the next few years. Having a defensive tackle who can push the pocket from the inside with consistency and still be a tough, physical run defender gives Allen more real options and more unpredictability for opposing coordinators trying to game plan how to attack this defense. If Woods is on the board at 25 and the Chicago staff has near the top of their grade stack, that is a pick you can defend with solid logic. The second name PF lines up for the Bears is A.J. Halsey, LSU safety, in a round after the first. And this is where Bears Nation, the connection with everything we have talked about regarding the secondary, becomes crystal clear. Halsey logged an 88.6 coverage grade in the 2025 season per PFF. 88.6 in coverage. That is not a number you bump into every day in college safety evals. That is the kind of elite mark that makes personnel directors and scouts across the league slap a red star next to a name and bump that player up the board. Coverage is absolutely the hardest part of the safety position to develop and project from college to the NFL. Tackling can be coached up, physicality can be sharpened with the right training, but coverage instincts, the ability to read the receiver and the quarterback at the same time, to break on the route at the exact right moment and hold discipline when the pressure is on, that is either baked in or it takes years to build. When a college prospect shows up with a coverage grade at that level, it is a pretty powerful sign there is natural feel and enough defensive IQ to make a real jump to Sundays. That said, I do see this differently than Locker when it comes to how the Bears should attack this need in the draft, and I am going to spell it out clearly. If the Bears do not lock down safety in free agency, whether that is with Brian Cook like we talked about or with another similar profile who fits Allen's requirements, then I honestly believe that spot has to be treated as a true first-round priority, not something you just casually clean up in the middle rounds. Dylan Thieneman is a name I have had my eye on, and I think there is a strong analytical case for the Bears to seriously consider in round one if the board falls that way. Alternatively, Zakey Wheatley out of Penn State, who had a very eye-catching Senior Bowl performance that turned a lot of heads among scouts, could be a smart, efficient option later on if the Bears handle safety and free agency first and free up those top picks for other roster needs. The main point I want you to walk away with on this safety in the draft piece is this: there is no single one-size-fits-all blueprint for solving safety through the draft. There are multiple possible paths, and the right path for the Bears in this specific class completely depends on what happens first in free agency. If Cook signs in Chicago, the draft priorities shift hard, and the team can turn early capital toward other holes. If there is no real safety move in free agency, then the draft becomes the only plan on the table for that spot, and that ramps up the urgency and pressure on every call Poles makes in April. And that brings us to the third name in PFF's ideal 2026 haul for the Bears. Skyler Bell, Jaquan wide receiver in round 3. This is where I have a very direct, very blunt opinion I want to put out there because I am not always going to nod along with the experts, and this is absolutely one of those times where I see it another way. Locker's case is basically this. If DJ Moore gets traded and the smoke around the Bears actively shopping the veteran keeps getting thicker, the team has to make sure there is legit depth behind Rome Odunze and Luther Burden III. On the surface, that makes basic sense. I get the logic. But when I look at the real state of the Bears roster right now, I do not see that as enough reason to burn a top 100 pick on a wide receiver while the defense still has way more urgent critical needs. Jade Walker already showed on the field can be a real piece in this Bears offense. Caught that ball from Caleb Williams on that absolutely insane comeback against the Packers in Week 16. The play that had all of Chi-Town jumping off couches at the same time. You do not get that moment if the staff does not believe in. Walker has earned a serious extended look as a real WR3 candidate this offseason. And I think Ryan Poles knows it. On top of that, bringing Olamide Zaccheaus back on another 1-year, reasonable price deal could shore up depth at receiver cheaply and efficiently without burning valuable draft capital at a spot that is already covered to a decent degree. Skyler Bell might turn into a perfectly solid NFL receiver. I do not doubt that. But I think the Bears would be better off using that third-round pick on a linebacker where there are real, important defensive needs being overlooked in a lot of the public talk around this team. The Packers over the last few draft cycles have done a really good job building out their receiver room with mid- and late-round picks without sacrificing premium capital at key defensive positions, and that has given them depth without choking their identity. The Bears can and should take a similar approach and deploy their best picks more strategically on the defensive side of the ball. The bottom line I come to after all this draft talk is this, and I want you to really lock in on it. The Bears are in an interesting draft position with real possibilities. They do not have the first overall pick. That is just reality. But they do have number 25 and a very real shot to land impact value at that specific point on the board if Poles and the staff nail the evaluations. If Peter Woods is sitting there at 25 and he fits what Dennis Allen wants to do to beef up the interior defensive line, that is a rock-solid pick with a clear argument behind it. If, in later rounds, there is a real deal safety on the board, whether that is Halsey or Thieneman or Wheatley, depending on how things fall, you pull the trigger without blinking. This 2026 draft is not going to magically fix every single thing wrong with the Chicago Bears in one night. But if Poles executes cleanly and hits the right buttons at the right times, it could be the class that fills those last critical gaps. So Caleb Williams and this organization finally make the leap Bears Nation has been waiting on with patience and faith through long years of pain and rebuilds. Bear down, Chicago, because the time is right now, and I truly think this team is a lot closer than a lot of people realize. All right, Bears Nation, we are at the end of this video, and I need to hear what you think. Because around here, we are not passive spectators. We are part of the conversation about the team we ride for. And today, we had 3 storylines that deserve a heated, thoughtful back and forth in the comments. On Jaquan Brisker, the truth is the Pittsburgh Steelers want, the cap is tight, and this organization might lose its most versatile safety right as Caleb Williams is ready to take that big step. If the Steelers grab Brisker, do you think Ryan Poles already has a specific, realistic plan lined up to replace, or are the Bears about to roll into the year with a massive, dangerous crater in the secondary that is going to cost key games? Drop your take in the comments right now. I want to read every single one. On Brian Cook, Bleacher Report tagged as the perfect free agency signing for Chicago, and I see as a smart, calculated, strategic move for this organization at this exact moment. But you have the final say on this channel. Are you signing Brian Cook to stabilize the back end right now, or would you rather see Poles go all in on the draft to fix safety with a young prospect who grows up in this system? Hit the comments. Do not hold back. I want that debate live. And on the 2026 draft, PFF has its ideal 3-round haul for the Bears with Peter Woods, A.J. Halsey, and Skyler Bell. I am on board with Woods at 25. I am skeptical about waiting until the middle rounds on safety if it is not solved in free agency first. And I am absolutely leaning linebacker over Skyler Bell in round 3. But what is your concrete view? Bears Nation, are you rocking with PFF's blueprint, or do you think Poles should take a totally different route in this draft? Bears Nation, this channel exists because you show up every time we drop. Every view, every like, every comment, every new sub, that is what keeps this community alive and growing. A group we have built together with real love for the Navy and Orange. We are a family of Chicago Bears fans that is not satisfied with the surface level stuff from national media, that does not get what it is like to live and breathe Bears football. We want real depth, real passion, and complete honesty about this team, the good and the bad. If you have not subscribed yet, do it right now. It is free. It takes 5 seconds, and it guarantees you will not miss a single Breaking Bears story when it matters most. Hit that red subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so YouTube lets you know whenever we drop new content, and toss us a like if this video felt valuable and informed. This is Miguel Morales, the voice of the Bears on YouTube, and we are not slowing down because football never sleeps and the Bears never stop giving us something to talk about. Tomorrow there is more news, more unfiltered analysis, more fired up debate about the team this city has carried in its heart for generations. Because Chicago never rests, this organization never stops giving us reasons to talk, and we're never going to stop showing up here for you. Bear down, Chicago. See you in the next video. Da Bears.